afternoon and a very warm welcome to today's event. We'll continue to celebrate International Women's Day, and what a fantastic lineup we have for you today with two very inspirational guest speakers, BBC Sports Presenter Tanya Arnold and journalist and reporter Miriam Walker-Khan. My name is Rachel Middleton, your local enterprise manager from NatWest. I provide banking, finance and free events and workshops around Leeds and West Yorkshire. I work closely with the local ecosystem to help boost networks and give you expertise knowledge, and this event is brought into you with collaboration with the Mid Yorkshire Chamber, the Leeds City Region Enterprise Partnership, or more affectionately known as the LEP, and the Huddersfield Giants. We'll shortly hear from Eorl Crabtree, who is an ex-rugby player and now club ambassador for the Giants, who will explain why they are so passionate about supporting women in business. But before that, I'll hand over to my colleague Heather Waters, who will tell you why here at NatWest we are committed to supporting female entrepreneurs and some of the fantastic initiatives we have put in place. Heather, over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Rachel, and thank you everybody for attending our event today. So yesterday was International Women's Day, and the Rosy View, which is headed up by Alison Rose, our Chief Exec, actually did an update on the report. So the Rosy View originally was launched in March 2019, and it was a review of all the different research that had been done regarding the barriers for female entrepreneurs. And each year we bring out an update, and an update was delivered yesterday. And I just want to read a few of the bits from there to give you an idea of actually how things have been over the last 12 months and also what effect some of the barriers have had on the female entrepreneurs and also what we've done to improve the situation. So one of the things that's come out of it, that obviously the pandemic has compounded the difficulties for female entrepreneurs. And in some research, 77% of female entrepreneurs found it really stressful throughout the pandemic, versus the male entrepreneurs saying only 55% of them found it stressful. So very interesting that actually the women did feel that they found it far more stressful than their counterparts. But also, they're saying 70% of the women are more likely than men to struggle balancing the business demands with family life. So certainly the kind of balance between the family caring responsibilities and running their own business had a bigger impact on female entrepreneurs. But going forward, they're saying 1 in 10 female entrepreneurs plan to start another business in 2021. So it's not all bad news. But whilst they struggle with the family responsibilities, there is actually some really kind of positive news regarding the funding, because the biggest barrier that women faced when we did the research back in 2019 was actually how they actually tap into funding that's available for them. So just going back to what the Rosy View has brought out, there's a UK enterprise fund is going to be launched this year, and they're looking to improve investment of £50 million into the UK economy. So there'll be more money available for women to access. But while we have to look at this and recognise that only 1% currently of funding from VC's investment goes to female-only businesses. So there's a huge opportunity to grow that there. There's an Investing Women Code being put together as well, which has required signatories now, which started off in 2019. There was one, which was NatWest at the time. Last year, there was 22 organisations signed up to this, and this is all various banks and financial services organisations. Now we have nearly 80. So there's 80 different funding organisations signed up to help more women to access and understand the funding that's available for them. And one last one I'll just touch on is one of the findings from the 2019 report was there was a lack of opportunities for networking and mentoring for women. They didn't know where to actually access this service. And we know in Leeds City Region, we've actually been running a pilot with Be the Business to offer that opportunity to women. And it's great to see at the end of the pilot now, we had a huge success. Over 1,000 people have accessed the site to look at how they can find a mentor and choose mentors themselves. So if anybody wants more information on that, we can certainly pass them on to it. But I'll leave it there for now, Rachel, and we're now going to hand over to Eorl, who's going to take you through the next event. Thank you.
Fab, thank you.
Good afternoon, all women in business, and thank you very much for joining us today. It's great yet again to be here, and typically I get asked to do a little bit more of a piece as well today, and that's what happens when you miss a Teams meeting. You get roped into just about everything. So I'd like to take this opportunity right now to thank some of our partners for our Women in Business event. In no particular order, Kirklees College are currently offering free adult courses and a wide range of apprenticeships and advice on how to get those apprenticeships and what you can claim back. And also congratulations in them opening their new flagship £14 million investment at Dewsbury College, which is absolutely fantastic. They're growing in Huddersfield, outside of Huddersfield, Kirklees, and it's great that they're on board with the Huddersfield Giants. Also the LEP, who you will be hearing from a little bit later, who are also supporting all our women in business, helping give advice and give direction in what is a tough period, a tough time, but they are there to help support all businesses from whatever background you're at, but they're well worth speaking to. Also the Chamber of Commerce, who always support us, another partner of the Giants, and they also help us direct all information to the right people to get you guys all on board watching us do these virtual events. So we do appreciate everything they do. And also NatWest, who you've just heard from, who put all these pieces together, all the virtual stuff together and make this happen. All our partners are here not just to support the Huddersfield Giants, but the wider business community and all women in business. This year's International Women's Day had a theme, Choose to Challenge. And as an ex-rugby player, I know what challenges are all about, but this is women in business. This is us inspiring women, and something that the Giants are passionately supporting. We're actively supporting this, and we always will do because we believe in it so much. The Huddersfield Giants, the audience is 40%, over 40% female of our audience is female. Now, we realise this, and someone like myself who's a dad and a granddad now to two girls, I think it's something that I'd always be trying to support, always trying to push, and always trying to inspire. Now, the last time I did this virtual event, it was me that did the interview, and I was very fortunate to interview a really close friend in Claire O'Connor, who has baby ballet. But I've decided to bring in the big guns this time. Instead of me doing the interview, and I thought I'd skip around it, and I bring in the big guns, and I've actually got my own interviewer today. But first of all, I'd like to say something about this person, somebody who's already inspired me, not on the field, but off the field, by the way she conducts herself, the way she has the respect of absolutely everything in her chosen sport, mostly is rugby league. I'm very lucky that she's inspired me off the field and helped me get to places where I never thought I would do, working for the BBC, helping support and also being a mentor in that sort of way. So before I go any further, I'd like to introduce our guest interviewer, Tanya Arnold.
I'm blushing, Earl. I'm blushing. Bless you. It's lovely to see you, big man.
And it's a bit strange, this, because I haven't seen you for some time, and my hair's obviously grown.
I wasn't going to mention it, but yeah, wait, it's getting a bit shaggy. And I have to say, I've been self-isolating for 2 weeks. So this is the most attention I've paid to my appearance for at least 2 weeks.
Well, I can honestly say there's not many women that I've actually shared makeup and hairspray with. Yep. You're right up there, and I still remember being at one of our games and working for the BBC. And you told me to come over and smell this hairspray, and I believe it smelled of pineapple. And you were
and you were bowled over, weren't you? I wasn't wrong that you would like that, but yeah, anybody who was watching as you sniffed my hair would have been somewhat alarmed, I'm guessing.
I know. Well, we did have Dennis Betts sniffing my hair at one point as well, which is for the people that don't know, is a big rugged rugby player. But when you get in this environment and everyone's smelling hairsprays, you know that
you blokes are far more in tune with your makeup than I am, quite frankly. I've had rugby league players asking me what kind of concealer is being used on them. So you know, I'm not going down that road.
I wouldn't need anything like that, Tanya.
Not anymore.
So Tanya, obviously it's been a tough period in the last 12 months especially. I just want to know how you found it and how has it affected you guys?
One of the things with television is it's one of those, the show must go on. We haven't, obviously, with BBC Look North, come off air at all. It took, God, it seems an absolute age ago. This time last year, we were kind of working out how you are COVID secure, of kind of shelling people out of the office, spreading all the desks out, lumping people out of edit suites, working out whether we're even allowed out of the building to film. And I have to say, I don't think I've ever been prouder of the team of people that I work with than I was this time last year as we found our way through what was at that time really scary, because I think none of us really knew what we were dealing with. You didn't want to take it home and all the rest of it. And it was quite a frightening time, I think, for everyone who was doing it. There were obviously other people who had to go home and self-isolate because of family, because of health conditions and all the rest of it. And we pulled together in a really good way, and I found a completely different way of working. I have to say, I am absolutely pig sick of interviews on Zoom, but we're still in that period.
Okay, I won't take it personally.
It's not this form, but you're doing endlessly. The only way you can do anything is an interview via Zoom and some WhatsApp videos. It's not, it's not the creativity I think a lot of us like, but we found a new way of making the programs. When we got rugby league back, we went on the road. Very surreal, as you know, because I know you were at a lot of the games, being in all these grounds that were absolutely empty. Just a sport is a very, very different level. But it was all credit to rugby league that they saw their season through. And I have to say, it was lovely to be out and doing that. It was a degree of normality in a slightly abnormal world. And I can't wait for my program to come back again. We're a few weeks off it. I think I'm the same with everybody. This lockdown has been really, really difficult. I think it's grey, it's dark. We've all had enough of it. We have closed in even more than I think in any of the other ones in terms of not going out and filming and the safety elements of it because of the new virus that was so contagious. So it's been difficult, but I've had work. I've been allowed out to go and do it. I found this 2 weeks of self-isolating because my son tested positive, then my husband, thankfully everybody is okay. I have found this really difficult, and it's given me a completely different window into people who have been self-isolating and really stuck at home. And thank goodness I haven't had homeschooling, because I'm not sure my son and I would have lasted that one.
I know it has been a tough year, and I do remember being at those games where we've sort of walked past each other, and I don't mind saying we normally give each other a hug, and it's always great to see each other. And unfortunately, it's how close could you get? It's standing
it's
well
waving
away
from a distance, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly that, and it's just changed the whole dynamics. So 2020, 2021 have offered massive challenges in different ways. So Choose the Challenge, I think, is quite appropriate for this sort of generation in the last couple of years. But you yourself getting into sports presenting and also rugby league. Can you tell us a little bit about why rugby league, and was it difficult to get into?
So I cover it up reasonably well, because I learned very, very early on that you say Castleford and not Castleford. But I'm a southerner, which is I do not have a Yorkshire passport. My son does. But I always loved sport as a kid. I was a tomboy. It's not too far-fetched an idea to go there. But I have to say, I never dreamed of being a sports broadcaster, partly because there weren't any women doing it. And there is, it's a very obvious thing, is if you can see other people doing it, you can imagine how you can get there. But I always loved sport. And I got into journalism, came up north, and we're a little bit more of a sporting newsroom, but certainly when I walked into it, most of the vast majority of people just were not interested. So there was only one sports reporter. If he wasn't available or if they needed help, I would chip in and help him. And I think it probably had also helped me get a job that, there's a woman who was interested in sport. But I will not pretend I knew anything about rugby league. I was very much, I'd watch Grandstand, which younger people won't even know Grandstand existed, which was on a Saturday afternoon. And they used to have the classic muddy rugby league matches. So I watched rugby league through that, but I really didn't know that much about it. But if you work in Yorkshire, same if you work in Lancashire, you really can't in doing sport. You've got to get to grips with it. You've got to get to know it. And I have to say, it was such a welcoming sport in a way that I don't think football is. And I don't think football maybe ever will be. I mean, it's got a long way to go, I think, to be as welcoming as rugby league. And rugby league wants to talk. It wants to put itself out there. People like yourself will come on for free and just to sell the game because they want to get the word out there. And it's been such a welcoming sport to come into, and I absolutely love it. You know that if you ask me all the rules of it, I probably end the conversation extremely quickly. Thankfully, my job is to ask questions of people like yourself who know what's going on. I absolutely love it, but partly because I love the people who are involved in it. They're just brilliant people to deal with.
Yeah, it's good to hear that. And just to point out as well, the women's game has progressed so quickly and massively in the last few years.
And it's going to be a huge year, huge year with the World Cup.
Sport. It's now an elite sport, is the women's game, which is fantastic for the sport. And it's good to see the women get back out there and put their bodies on the line, just like the men do as well. So it's fantastic for that. Also, the Huddersfield Giants women's team, led at the Huddersfield Giants Community Trust by Lisa Darwin, they're actually in Super League as well. So we're making the right steps for the men's team and the women's team. It's great to see. But I'd like to take this opportunity, Tanya, now to hand over to you to hopefully introduce our guest speaker.
Yeah, well, I have to say that I had not come across Miriam Walker-Khan until we were paired at the Northern Sports Women in Sport Conference. I think it was this time last year, wasn't it, with your good self, Eorl? And I just fell in love, quite frankly. She's absolutely cracking, really full of enthusiasm, ambitious, following her dreams, and also not being pushed down corridors that other people might want to push her down, but actually stamping her foot and going, no, this is what I want to do. And I thought she was fantastic. Miriam, rather than me trot off things about who you are in your career, why don't you just give us a potted history of how you got into sport, and what you've achieved so far and what you hope to go on and achieve, maybe? I think you're on mute. I'm seeing a little muted mic in front of me. There we go.
A year on and it's still happening. Yeah, thank you, Tanya. I think I said this the other day on Twitter. You were a massive kind of role model for me growing up, because obviously watching Look North, growing up in Sheffield, you were always kind of there on the TV covering sport. And I never, same as you, I never really thought I was going to work in sport. I did athletics from being about 10 till 22, so about 12, 13 years. Trained with Tony Minicello for a bit and another sprints coach in Sheffield. But I think I always thought, I was quite ill when I was younger, and I was always injured and didn't really have the patience to deal with that and kind of do my education on the side. So I always thought I'd just go into like something like law or something that's, a bit more boring, and then kind of fell into sports journalism when I was at uni. So I was in my second year, and just started writing for a website that was kind of Sheffield based, but is now pretty big. They live stream events and stuff. So became their like online editor in my second year. And it kind of spiraled. Like I started interviewing people at the Northern Champs, which was really easy because they're all my mates or my siblings. And then kind of went on to, I think that year I interviewed Bolt, Johan Blake, people across Europe. So it was great because I was just like, following the sport that I loved, but I didn't have to do horrible reps around the track all day.
So at what point, because, Eorl asked me, and I'm very much of a generation where, there really were not women doing sport. Helen Rollison, I always say, is for all of us coming through, really did break the barriers, and she had to go through some stuff. So at what point did you think, actually, this is a career that I can have? Did you see that progression? Because there was me on the telly doing it. There were people around you, Sally Nugent, all the rest of it.
I think actually like a lot later, it's probably when I finished my degree. So I did English, Lit and French at uni. And then I was like, what am I going to do now? Despite the fact I'd already done, like 2 years of this role as an editor, and I'd been interviewing in French, with athletes in different countries. I still didn't really see it. So I did a master's in broadcast journalism at Sheffield. And then I was like, oh, this is what it's about. And I absolutely love it. And even then, I was pushing to do all the sports stories. I remember on a news day, you do uni news days, and they put someone else as the sport editor. And I was like, can I be the sport editor one of the days? And they were like, well, no, you're not on the rota. And I was like, but I've been doing it for 3 years. And I had to really push. And I think, you're always up against that. If people don't see you as someone like that, even though I've been doing it, you can't really see you. And I think although, I had grown up watching so much sport and watching you on the news, you still it feels kind of unattainable, because it's it's like a dream job, right? You would never think, I never thought when I was little, I'm going to go and be a sports journalist, because you don't really think that big, I don't think. Well, I didn't, but yeah, I guess it's just when I was doing my master's, and I was like, yeah, cool.
Now, one of the things that struck me when we met a year ago was you said, I want to go and be a reporter. They want me to present. I don't want to do that. I want to go and be a reporter. I want to learn how to be a reporter. Just talk me through what was happening to you at that point, that you were having to put your foot down and go, no, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, well, it's not my bosses now that want me to present it. When I got on something called the Journalism Trainee Scheme at the BBC, and pretty much everyone outside of sport who I spoke to, like when I was doing the training and stuff, they'd be like, oh, what's your placement? And I'd say sport, and they say, oh, did you apply to that? And I was like, yeah, I only applied to that placement. And they're like, oh, do you want to be there? Do you want to swap onto another placement? And I was like, no. I just couldn't fathom that I only wanted to do sport. And they were like, oh, like the next kind of jump is like, oh, do you want to be a presenter? I think you should be a presenter. Do you want to do like in front of the camera stuff? And I was like, no, not really. Like, I just want to tell stories and talk to people. Like, if that means I'm a reporter because I get to just chat with people all day, then perfect. But I think a lot of people probably come into this industry wanting to present. And I think, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just find it more interesting doing the other stuff and just, yeah, like I said, talking to people, telling stories, finding stories, and actually just thinking about different parts of sport that maybe a lot of sports journalists don't think of. Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. For what it's worth, I know I do presenting, and people, Eorl introduced me as a presenter. My job title is reporter, and actually that's what I think of myself as. The presenting's kind of a side issue. We'll fill in some gaps in the middle, but I wanted to ask you about something that you and I came across on Twitter together, that you had tweeted what I thought was fantastic. DM me if you're a BAME reporter, sports reporter coming through, and need some help. And I thought, what a lovely gesture. Retweeted this and got accused of racism. I was kind of fairly taken aback by this and took the guy on in a very polite BBC way. And you sent me a DM, a text saying, some people just don't get it, do they? I was very surprised by this. You clearly weren't, because this is something that you're facing the whole time.
Yeah. I think people have have an obsession, some people, with telling Black and brown people and women especially, and if you're both, then it's even worse, that they're only in certain jobs because they're ticking a box and because they're those things. So you hear that so much now, whether it's with like Alex Scott, Karen Carney, like the people who are really like abused a lot on social media. And when I know what it's like being a woman of colour coming into this industry that is massively, I think 94% white, very much like private school educated people who, we're different and we have different life experiences, and it is more difficult for us to get into the industry. I didn't know anyone in the media before I started working in it. I was lucky that I got on the JTS, but not lucky, I shouldn't say that, but it's, people just think you just like float into these roles and that you're just here because of the colour of your skin or because you're a girl. And it's so deeply insulting because I literally spent like years at uni doing work experience, doing work, a lot of work for free. Yeah, I loved it, but it was for free and there were long days. And then you come into a job where you've got like 4 or 5 years experience, plus a master's, plus an NCTJ, plus you can film or you can, all these things. And people are like, you're just there because of what you look like or the colour of your skin. And I think I just wanted to, I think there aren't enough women of colour in the industry in particular. And so much of what we cover as sports journalists is about people of colour or racism or women of colour. And I think, if you are from those backgrounds, you have experience, you can approach those stories with that experience, and you can really get the best out of people and make the most out of the stories. And I think I just wanted to encourage more girls and women who wanted to get into the industry to do so and have the confidence to do so, not have imposter syndrome, because we all go through similar things when we're trying to get into the industry. Maybe it's the same comments that you hear or the same kind of I don't know, anything. And I just thought, wouldn't it be great if we had like a little Twitter network we set up and people can just talk about it, and I can send maybe links to apprenticeships or internships. And then, like you said, people were accusing us of being racist. And it's like, no, like if I want to use my time as a freelancer, not a BBC employee as well, to help people on that journey, that's absolutely fine. And people were DMing me like, you're racist, like, oh, I want help with this, but you're not going to help me because I'm a white man, and just saying that I like hated all white men and stuff. Also, like, my mum is white, you know, like I'm mixed race, and people just are so ignorant and just don't care. They just feel like attacked for no reason. And it's exhausting, like having to see that in your DMs, and someone's like subtweeting me saying, oh, this person works at the BBC, like, I'll get in trouble, when it's just, it's tiring. And I think having people like you as allies who can come and say, you know what, this is fine, and it's not racist, that's ridiculous, is really important, because a lot of people don't really back us up when we try and do things like that. So I was very grateful that you did.
I thought what you were doing was fantastic, and I also think there's a lack of understanding. We all have a different journey. It's not a phrase I particularly like, but you know, my experiences as a woman coming into it, your experiences as a woman of color coming in are different, you know, as it will be for a black man or whatever. And I couldn't understand it. I couldn't comprehend that you trying to help somebody was a negative. How have you dealt? Because I always wonder if I would have been here still doing the job if Twitter had been around when I started, because I would have got dog's own abuse about my voice. I still get it, but I kind of know how to do my job now. I know what I'm good at. It still hurts, you know. As you say, you might see it a lot of times, but it doesn't stop hurting. But I'm not sure. In my early days, when I didn't know if I could do the job, I was still trying to persuade myself I could do it, whether I'd have coped. How do you cope with people trying to chip away at you like that constantly?
I think you have to, because it's happened from the beginning, more on, you know, when I was a trainee, I remember I wrote an article about Man City. It was 2018 when they won the league, and it was saying like how they were going to win the league and probably get 100 points. And someone was like, this stupid woman doesn't know what she's talking about. And I was just like they won the league, they got 100 points. And then I was like, well, that person is literally like a nobody. Like I don't know them. It's so important to listen to people around you because I think it's so easy to develop like imposter syndrome, which I definitely did from within at the BBC. Like after getting into the BBC, I was very confident kind of going in, and now I feel a bit different. But I think you just have to ignore it. You just have to, sometimes I think actually those comments, because I do a lot of stuff about race and racism in sport, and I think when people are riled up and they're seriously like disgusted that you're daring to speak about race in sport, actually that's a good thing, because you're challenging the perception of what sports news is and what that space should be. And I think that kind of gets me through. And luckily, like, loads of people will DM me, like far more people will DM me or message me and say like, thank you for writing this piece. Like, I've never seen anything like this before. It was brilliant. So I think just, you know, listening to that more than the trolls. Yeah, I don't get them that much, to be honest. I think if I was as big as you, I probably wouldn't cope if it was on Twitter.
You say that. I mean, one of the reasons I steered clear of football on a national level was I don't want to deal with it. I don't need it, to be quite frank. Do you fear being pigeonholed? You know, you have done some amazing stuff, particularly through the Black Lives Matter. I mean, some of the articles you wrote were absolutely brilliant. But do you fear being pigeonholed, that the BBC say will come to you because you're a freelancer to do only stories about race? Do you have to fight your corner to make sure that you're doing stories you want to do? Some will be about race, but a lot won't, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of a niche that I found, and I'm happy to do that because it's something I've always been passionate about. Like I mean, Martin Luther King is behind me, and like I did my dissertation on the civil rights movement and police brutality, and I think I'd rather people do it properly than not do it. But no, like I definitely do other things as well, and I think it's just happened that in the past year we've all started talking about it more, and I've been actually like, there are ideas that I've had for years that I've never really had the confidence to come forward with because I don't think they'd get commissioned. But now I've been like, oh, this is an idea. Like, I wrote an article about Black Lives Matter in sport that did really well and everyone loved, but that was on my idea list since like 2017, and I'd only just thought, okay, I can talk about it now because the world is ready to hear it. So I think a lot of it is that, but yeah, like athletics is my main sport, so I hope I'll always get to do any athletic story I want to do. But yeah, I'm not that worried about being pigeonholed.
So one of those interview questions, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Because you're young, you're still starting out. So where do you want to get to? What do you have a particular dream, or is it just shoot everything and just bring it all at me?
Yeah, oh God, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what day of the week it is, to be honest.
I think we're all a bit like that at the moment.
Yeah, I think I mean, I know probably a lot of people say this, but I would love to work in documentaries, and because that's like the kind of ultimate sitting down and chatting with people, isn't it? So I definitely would love to do that. And I think just anything that's really creative, as long as I'm constantly being kind of creatively challenged, that's the most important thing for me, because I think within news especially, it's quite formulaic, and sometimes you can get lost within like the churning out of stuff. And I think just as long as I can keep telling people stories and doing it in a fun way, then yeah, I don't mind.
And you said that a lot of the stories you've had sitting there, but people weren't ready to listen. Do you see a real sea change, or is this just another moment?
Do you know what? I think it has changed a lot, and it's been great. But then seeing the past 2 days, how people have reacted to all the Meghan Markle stuff, and how the press have been, is quite bleak, because I think people have just forgotten everything they said last summer. And I think actually, like, when you're the first person to take on a certain story, it's really difficult, because you are challenging, you're holding people to account, and it sometimes feels like people say they're ready for that and they're not. So that's something I've definitely struggled with recently. But I think generally, like, especially within the BBC, like, things have been progressing a lot, and I think I'm co-chair of BBC Sports BAME Advisory Group, and we feel definitely like we have more of a voice now, and that people listen to us a bit more, which is great. So I hope so, yeah.
And when you look upwards around the BBC, other organisations that you work for, other businesses, what more should be being done to support young people coming through, young people from different backgrounds, just to make our workforce more diverse?
I think definitely that we need to get more Black and brown people and disabled people and people from working class backgrounds and northern people in higher up positions, because a lot of it in any big organisation probably is a lot of middle class white middle-aged men, which obviously, just from a business point of view, you're not going to get the best out of your business if that's the case. But also, I think journalism in general as an industry isn't great at actually thinking, okay, we need to go out and look for people. And we do a lot of work at BBC Sport. Like, for the past kind of 3 years, I've worked with a colleague where we go into like NCS camps or schools, with kids that are 13, 14, and give them workshops on like mobile journalism or things that they will think is cool, and we try and like show them that this could be them, like they could do this job. And I think that's super important, because if you're just going to like universities or master's degrees, like, you're obviously not going to get people, those people already want to be a journalist, and if you're not going a bit lower down, you won't get people who think, you know what, I could do this. So I think we just need to be better at going and telling people they can do it.
Miriam, you're doing some fantastic work, both, what we all read and see, but also that kind of thing is you're absolutely right. I've been shouting from the rooftops, how do you get girls to do it? You've got to catch them young when, they still love sport, and it's not something that girls shouldn't do. So keep fighting the good fight. It's fantastic to talk to you. I think we're both going to hang on for questions at the end. Please be nice to us. And I'm trying to work out, I think your hair is still longer than Earl's. I've always said I did a Super League show once with a guy called Ashton Sims, and with Eorl, and I think I tweeted afterwards, the only time I presented with two men with longer hair than me. Miriam, lovely to talk to you, and hopefully we'll take some questions later on.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing stuff, that, guys. Thank you very much for that, both of you. Thank you, Tanya and Miriam. Very interesting and extremely thought-provoking as well. Quite inspiring, and I'm hoping everyone who watched that, like I did, got to understand a little bit more of what does go on, and hopefully how things can change, and inspiring the younger generation as well. We'd like to move this on now to our next part, which is a speech now from Jane from the LEP, who will talk about what the LEP are up to and what they can offer.
Thanks, Earl, and I agree that was a really inspirational interview from Tanya and Miriam. So Leeds City Region Enterprise Partnership work with businesses from all stages, from startup and early stage companies right through to established businesses that are ready to expand and grow. And I just want to spend a few minutes to talk to you through some programs that we have in the region to support women. I wonder, Erica, can you put the slide up, please? So just while the slide comes up, I'm not going to talk to you about everything. I can't give you a comprehensive list of everything. There's so many programs in the region for women to access. So I'm just going to cover a few projects that we work with that support women and think about that journey of business startup, digital skills, and also mentoring and leadership and management. So the first one I'm going to talk to you about is our Adventure programme, and this supports startups and young businesses in their first 3 years of trading within Leeds City Region. And they work with partners such as the Prince's Trust, and this addresses some of the key barriers for business startups for women, as mentioned in the Alison Rose review. So the programme will offer practical advice and coaching and mentoring, also incubation space and loans and access to some startup and growth grants that are available in the region. And if you take a look at their website, there's some really fantastic examples of women starting and growing their businesses. So it's worth contacting them on the contact on the slide and finding out a bit more about them if you're looking to set up a business. We also have our local digital skills partnership, which was set up as part of the Leeds City Region devolution deal. And this partnership recognises the growing importance of digital skills for businesses and residents in the region. And it works with digital advocates and leaders from businesses. It works with education, local communities, and also the charity sector organisations. But one of the programmes that they're currently promoting is with Clockwork City, and the first cohort, they targeted women to train to put their business online. First cohort's just completed, and there's some fantastic feedback from the 9 women that were on that course. And there's further dates and details on our website, or you can contact Mark Temple, and his email's on the slide. Another programme that's also been mentioned in a previous NatWest Women in Business webinar is from Leeds Beckett University. And the We Can programme is just about to launch. And this provides coaching and mentoring for women in the workplace. And the programme can help businesses retain and develop talent and provide new opportunities for businesses to work with universities and other organisations to design a tailored approach to learning in the workplace. And hot off the press, their website has just gone live this week, and you can contact them on the email again. Finally, the last programme I wanted to talk about was through West Yorkshire Consortium of Colleges, and they provide the region with skills support for businesses. And they currently have some funded training for women as part of their Higher Performing Workplaces programme. And the training is a fantastic opportunity to develop leadership qualifications, and it ranges from level 3 to level 5 qualifications. So these, I've just highlighted a few of the many offers in the region to help you, whether you're looking at starting a business or whether you're in business and looking at developing your leadership skills. But please use the contact details on the slide or contact our business support help desk. I manage the Leeds City Region Skills for Growth programme, and you can contact me directly with any queries as well. I'm now going to hand over to Anita from Mid York's Chambers, and she's going to tell you about a fantastic offer to support SMEs in the region.
Hello, good afternoon. First of all, thank you ever so much for having me here today. It's an absolute privilege. I'm Anita Harrison. I work for the Mid Yorkshire Chamber of Commerce. I'm the Head of Commercial Services and Membership. And we've been kindly supported with government funding directed through us via the Leeds Enterprise Partnership and the West Yorkshire Combined Authority. Now, the government recognised throughout the pandemic that businesses were struggling. And to help the businesses in recognition of this, some funding was introduced, whereby businesses can access a free 1-year membership from the Chamber of Commerce. Now, people say, what's the catch? Well, there is absolutely no catch. Do we have the slides? Here we are. So this is our information about the free membership. No catch whatsoever. You get a full range of benefits for a full year. So you can try us for free. So there's absolutely nothing to lose. Why do we want to do this? Well, I'm a senior manager in the Mid Yorkshire Chamber of Commerce, and I am in business myself. And I see that we do have an underrepresentation of women across the board at all levels in business. And we want to improve that situation. But we also want to help give you the tools that would cost you quite a lot of money, substantially more than if you came to the Chamber of Commerce, because our range of support is free. So you can get a range of information free of charge. So you can contact us at Mid Yorkshire Chamber of Commerce. You can give me a call. Just go onto our website at nycci.co.uk, or you can go direct to the actual application form online, which is my-chamber.co.uk. Now, why join the Chamber of Commerce? What do we have to offer? Can we have the next slide, please? Well, here you can see you can get connected. By far, one of the biggest benefits that we offer is what we are doing today, which is networking. Through the networking events, you can meet people, you can raise your profile. We also have a package that's invaluable. We market and we the businesses, and we offer free PR to your businesses. So again, it's about raising your profile free of charge. Just those packages alone would cost you a fair penny if you were to look at the investing privately. You can also get supported as well. We have a range of employee benefits from our partners. We have financial benefits. We have Finance Finder as well. So we do the work for you. You tell us what you're looking for, we'll find it. There's international services as well. If you export or import, you can get free advice from us. At this moment in time, we have a service through our international trade section, whereby you can get free specialist advice on the exporting issues as a result of Brexit. And that's available until the 31st of March. You have free access to training and development. You have free advice. You can actually deliver your own webinars as well to our audiences. So you can also be represented. Now, this is something as well where I think we need to do more work as a female sector, and that is ensuring our voice is heard at the highest level in government. So we have a quarterly economic survey whereby you can get involved to change the status quo, not just at the national level, but also at the local level as well. So you can influence what's happening in your local authority. So I'm here today to just again touch on something that Heather said earlier, which is 1% of investment throughout the UK is diverted to women in business. This is your opportunity to change and challenge the status quo. Join the Mid Yorkshire Chamber of Commerce free of charge at Mid Yorkshire Chamber of Commerce, nycci.co.uk or my-chamber.co.uk, and have your say and get some free resources for a year. I'm Anita Harrison. I hope I do see some of you join up. Thank you for having me today. And I'll now hand you over to Eorl.
Thank you very much, Anita. That's actually brilliant. And Anita was actually a little bit nervous about talking today, but I thought you were absolutely fantastic there. So it's great information from both the LEP and the Mid Yorkshire Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate all your support and everything you do for us. But this, obviously, as you can see in the background, is also a Huddersfield Giants event. This is something that we set up through our commercial director, Andrew Watson. And here we have him up next, who hopefully won't be quite as nervous because he loves his 60-second pitch. Off you go, Andrew.
Thank you, Eorl. When we're practicing this morning, Eorl said to me, Andrew, 60 seconds is a long time to listen to you. So not wanting to argue with 6 inches of pure muscle, I'll crack on. But thank you to our speakers, so inspiring, Tanya and Miriam. Choose to challenge is our hashtag today, so appropriate. It's just unbelievable what you had to go through in your careers to get to the top, and I know Eorl did as well, to play 428 games of rugby league for the Giants. So many challenges to go through, so inspired by you all. So thank you for attending. We decided 3 years ago to launch Women in Business because we recognise that at the Giants well over a third of our fan base is female, and as Eorl said, 40% on a match day. We had an online event recently, 55% of the attendees were female. So wherever you go around the Giants, it's a big female audience, big family club, inclusive. As Tanya said, the game of rugby league is. In fact, the game of rugby league have set up an inclusion board of directors now, headed by a Rimler actor as chairman, MBE. Michael Lawrence, one of our players, is on the board. So the game of rugby league is really inclusive, really family friendly, and that's why I'm speaking today with an offer for you. When we launched Women in Business 3 years ago, we hoped 25 people would attend, and actually 75 did, and this is 8 events in now and 170 attending today, so thank you so much for attending. As well as inspiring speakers, what we wanted to do was bring some real help for you. So for instance, the Chamber of Commerce, we're members at the Giants. I would highly recommend it, and you now got free membership, so you can't get much better than that as a Yorkshireman. Free is good. Kirklees College offering free courses. I've actually signed up to myself on my own CPD journey. There's some courses for everybody there. LEP offering you lots of things. NatWest offering you lots of things. I know Women in Business is really important to them as well. So yeah, so we're remiss not to make an offer ourselves as well, like everybody else has. So the rugby league season starts very shortly, almost in line with easing of lockdown. So I'm sure you'll be able to come to games a little bit later. And with that in mind, we thought we'd make you an offer if you want to come along and experience the Giants. So the third female embrace that 40-50% actually on a match day in the hospitality lounges. So come along as a guest of Eorl Crabtree. You get to meet Eorl. Brian Blacker, our commercial manager, Karen Williams in our commercial team will host you in the boardroom, let you see the hospitality, let you get a feel for it, see us on a match day. So if you'd like to take that up, it's simply drop me an email, andrew@giantsrl.com, andrew@giantsrl.com. And just before I hand you back to Eorl, just to say our next Women in Business event is on the Wednesday the 19th of May, so we'd love to see you at that one as well. So I'll hand you back to Eorl.
Thank you very much, Andrew. That's the longest 60 seconds pitch we'll ever hear, but you know, it was absolutely fantastic. It's always good to hear from our commercial director, and everything that we do at the Huddersfield Giants is supporting women in business, and hopefully we'll see a few of you women in business at our games, which hopefully we'll be able to get fans to very shortly. I'd like to now pass you back to Heather. We'll be doing the Q&A for the last 10 minutes, hopefully.
Yes, and thank you, Andrew. And I'll take the offer up to come along to Huddersfield Giants. That'll be an interesting one. So I'll drop you an email, Andrew. So we've got quite a few questions. If you can bring Tanya, Miriam, Jane, and Anita back on as well, if possible, because that's who the questions are for. Wonderful. So first question, this one's going to Tanya. Can you think of a standout moment in your career? Is there one particular moment that stands out to you?
It's more a kind of whole event. The 2020 Olympics was just an amazing thing to be a part of. I am one of those people that does think the Olympics is the greatest show on earth. To be there, to be at a home Olympics was incredible. Oddly, I suppose the highlight of my career involves shooting. I got sent to the shooting. A sport I jokingly said, oh, I bet if I get sent anywhere, it's to the shooting. I had never seen it live, never gone anywhere near it. And we won gold. And I was live on BBC One with the gold medalist. So to interview an Olympic gold medalist live on BBC One was absolutely incredible. It was very emotional, and they'd actually allowed his dad in as well. And there was just a wonderful moment at the end of the interview. He turned around and saw his dad and just fell into his arms. And it was one of those moments that got used on all the montages as he hugged his dad. So yeah, bizarrely, probably the highlight of my career is in the sport of shooting. Who'd have thought that?
I think I actually saw that one as well, so I do recall it. Yeah, very emotional, wasn't it? Thank you for that. So actually, question for you, and then Miriam to answer as well. What would be your number one tip to females in the audience today? If we talk about choose a challenge, what would your number one tip be? Should we go back to you first, Tanya? We'll give Miriam a little bit more time to think.
So very early on when I was doing, I did a 1-year postgrad in journalism as well. I interviewed Eorl. And I remember as we talked, she said that, it was comparatively relatively early in her career, but she was a very established broadcaster, brilliant broadcaster, and still is one of the very, very best. And she was, at that time, she'd go to football matches, and she said, I still read the match report in the Sunday papers to make sure I was right. And I think there is a thing with women that you almost have to persuade yourself you can do it before you can persuade other people that you can do it. I think in the end that might make you better at what you do, but I think there is an element of believe in yourself, and I think that is something that sometimes as women we're not great at. They always say, a guy looks at a job advert and looks at, well, I can do 6 out of the 10 things, forget the 4, and a woman looks at it and goes, but there's 4 of the things I can't do and won't apply for the job. So I think there's an element of believe in yourself, back yourself, and a bit like Miriam, don't take no for an answer. Go for it. And follow it, and there might be a fight along the way, but believe you can do it if you want to do it.
Brilliant advice. Miriam, what's your thoughts?
Yes, similar to that. I think as women as well, people kind of tell you a lot of the time that you can't do something, and I think probably the best women in any job that I've seen always, I like to prove people wrong and do things that people say I can't do. So I think just prove people wrong who tell you can't do it, and just go and do it, and then you can do it again.
No, brilliant. I think, like you say, it's that believe in yourself, as Tanya's touched on. It's kind of don't deselect yourself, really. So I've got a couple of questions here. One here for Jane. Someone's asking about the Adventure, which is a startup program. Is that only for B2B, or is it for B2C, business to consumer as well?
The programme, as it currently stands, yes, is just for B2B. However, there are other support. Prince's Trust support for people setting up businesses who are aged 18 to 30 is for anybody who's going to set up a business. And I would watch this space as well. I think with the economic climate, there'll be more support for businesses setting up B2C as well. And hopefully in a future one of these events, I'll be able to report on some further funding in that space as well.
Wonderful, thank you. And I'll just put a little plug out for actually a program we have. It's purely digital. But if you Google Business Builder, that's a digital proposition that NatWest has lots of support, a big wide Facebook network of like-minded entrepreneurs on there as well, which is open to any kind of business. So that's another one you could tap into. And now I've got a question for Anita. Just regarding the free membership, 2 questions for you. Is it nationwide, that support for government for women in business? Is it a nationwide support, or is it just for your chamber?
It's for our chamber, but we cover Kirklees, Calderdale and Wakefield. Now, I do know there is another offer in the Leeds City region, and that's covered by Western North Yorkshire Chamber. And they cover Leeds, Bradford and North Yorkshire.
Okay, so on that question, is York part of that? Because I know York fits into part of Leeds City region, doesn't it? So that chamber would cover York, would it?
Western North Yorkshire would cover York.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's
and the offer, and the offer expires on midnight, 31st of March. So there's not many memberships left. And I really would like to see an uptake from women.
Okay, so someone's actually asking, can you put the website details, the membership link in the chat? So I don't know if that's something you can do for them, Anita, because someone's actually asked for the details again. Thank you.
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Well, that's all the questions we've got. And actually, we're on for one last minute.
Can I just ask a very quick question of Jane? Because Mim and I have been texting each other. Are you in an outdoor? Have you converted a shed or something to your office? It looks fabulous. We've got office envy, backdrop envy. Both Mim and I go, we love it.
Thank you so much. Yes, it was a bit of a lockdown project with me and my husband to keep us sane. But yeah, I did the decorating, of course, and my husband did all the hard work, really. But it's great for now. There's 3 of us working from home. So actually, we needed an extra office space. So this is absolutely perfect. My only biggest worry was next door I've got gardeners, and there was a big digger turned up this morning. So I was worried you'd all hear digging, but it's been quiet.
We were exchanging texts of office backdrop envy, so I thought I'd ask, because
that's very kind.
Like to ask.
Thank you.
Right, just as we're going to run out of time, so one quick question. James was asking, who's your equivalent in London? So I don't know if you could kind of share some details. There is an LEP in London, isn't there? So, but I don't know the names of people there.
There is. I can contact you and put those details on. Okay,
and also someone's asking for the details for the West and North Yorkshire Chamber details as well for the offer. So we're literally out of time. So first of all, for me, thank you so much, Tanya, Miriam, for coming and speaking today. It was very, very interesting to hear you both speak, and the topics you touched on as well, very current at this moment in time. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you to Andrew and Eorl from Huddersfield Giants. Eorl, you're a legend in your own time. I'm just like, I've never met a man like you. And so impressed with Huddersfield Giants doing so much to promote women in business. It is absolutely refreshing to work with you. Thank you for Leeds City Region Lep. Jane, thank you so much for joining us today. And Anita from the Chamber as well. It really is great to see there is so much support out there for women to start and grow a business. So please do tap into everything that's available for you. And I'm sure we'll be back in the next couple of months with a further event for you. So thank you very much for all for attending.